Tal Kadosh, Boker or Masechet, Baba Daf Zayin Amud Bet. Okay, so here we're going to start. We're doing today Daf Yudchet, which is 18, but we're just going to do the last line of Zayin Amud Bet. Okay, the last line, Tashema. Okay, so Tashema, we're going to bring now the next case of the Mishnah, where it says, Marchikim et gefet vet zevel ve'et hamelach vet asid vet slaim mikotlo shel chavero shoshat tvachim osa besid. So it says over here that you're going to distance, whether we're talking about the psolit of zatim or the zevel or the melach and the seed or the slaim from the wall of your friend 3 tvachim, or you're going to come and you're going to be sad besid. Tama, the reasoning why is the kakotel, because there is a wall. Haleka kotel, but if there's no wall, somech, so you are allowed to put it close. So therefore, this is a question against Rava. That Rava says that it's a suli smoch, even if you do have it. And here you're saying that it's mutali smoch. Remember, the second case, there's actually a wall in the Mishnah, right? That's the second case, right? So answers the Gemara, no. Kileka kotel, even if there's no wall, nami lo samich, you can't do it. So what's it coming to teach us? Kamashmalan comes to teach us that these things are bad for the wall. Meaning the psolit of zatim and all these things, they're not good for the wall. Okay, so that's what it's teaching you. What's good for a wall? What's not good for a wall? We know that if you're going to come, you're going to start drilling and this and that. It's not good for a wall. Right? Okay. Fine. Tashema. We're going to try to bring another proof now. Yeah, this is also from the Mishnah. Where the Mishnah, but this is now the third case. Remember, first case was right? No. Second case, from the kotel. Third case, so this is the third case. So he says, Tama di kakotel, it's only because you have a wall. Leka kotel, if you don't have a wall, you're allowed to bring it closer. It's again a question against Rava. Because Rava kept on saying that whether you have a wall or not, you have to distance yourself from, your friend. So therefore, even if you don't have a wall, you still have to distance yourself. So answers the Gemara, no. Kileka kotel nami lo samir. Even if you don't have a wall, you're not allowed to bring it close. What's coming to teach you? Kamashmalan, the matznuta kashe, right? He says here, the metumta kashe lekotel. Lachut, moisture is bad for a wall. That's what it's coming to teach you, right? Over here, but there's moisture, right? So therefore, the moisture is not going to be good. Ashema, so another writer, right? Again, it's another proof from the Mishnah. The Rechaim, you have to come and you have to distance the Rechaim 3 tfachim from the Even Rechaim, which is the bottom part, which is 4 tfachim, okay, from the top one. So he comes and he says like this, Tama di kakotel. It's only because you have a wall. But if you don't have a wall, you're allowed to bring it close. Remember, the Rechaim is the windmill. Here, when you come and you start doing this, it's bad for the ground because since it's always moving and it's a heavy machinery, so it's not good for a wall right beside it. So answers the Gemara, no. Even if you don't have a wall, you're not allowed to bring it close. The tidia kashe lekotel. Ra'ad, meaning like earthquakes, trembling, moving the ground. That's not good for a wall. We already learned this as well. Yeah? Tashema. We're going to have another one then. It's a tanur. Yeah, the tanur. We're talking about you have to distance the tanur 3 tfachim from the chelek hatachton of the tanur, which is 4 tfachim, from the basis. So he says, Ta'amadi kakotel, it's only because you have a wall. But if you don't have a wall, so you're allowed to bring it close. Again, it's a question on Rava. We keep on bringing the same question on Rava. That Rava told us that even if we do not have a wall, you still have to distance. Here we keep on making a diuk in the Mishnah that it's only if you have a wall. So it's the Gemara, no. Even if you want to go according to Rava, when there's no wall, you still have to distance yourself. That the heat is not good for the wall. So again, look how many things are not good for the wall. We said moisture, we said the movement, we said heat, all these things, are not good for a wall, or the other things as well, which we wrote down at the beginning, whether it's going to be the, all these things of the lime and all these things.
The Surfside building was built that, but bang.
Yes.
Sure didn't help.
100%. That's what Ronen spoke about yesterday. Yeah. So he comes down and he says like this. He says, Tashema, yeah, lo yiftach adam hanut shel nachtomin. So this is actually a Mishnah later on. Yeah, this is a Mishnah later on. This is not a Mishnah by us, meaning we didn't do it already. This is a Mishnah coming up on the Kaf Amud Bet. There it says that a person cannot come and open up a store of, for example, let's say like a bakery. Boulangerie. Yeah, he says, right? Well, he says that they sell bread, the shel tzabayin, right? Or he says tachat otzaro. Or, right, tzabayin. Tzabayin is basically like of painters, like a paint store, right? Tachat otzaro shel chavro, under the machsan, under the storage of his friend. Velo ya'aser efet bakar. You cannot also make like a barn, right, under the sotzar. So now the Mishnah is already going to tzmashma that it's already there. So therefore, Tama, the reasoning of all this Mishnah is because there's an otzar, right? And therefore, you cannot do other things on the upper floor. Halek otzar, but let's say there's no otzar. Avid, you're allowed to. So there's a question against Rava. Because again, the concept is that according to Rava, even if you don't have whatever it is there, you're still obligated to distance yourself. But according to Abaye, it's only if it's there. If it's not there, I'm the first one. No, nobody else is here. Boom, I can do whatever I want. So answers the Gemara, Dira Shane. Dira of a person is different. Because the Chanut, this, let's say this bakery, right, or whatever it is that you're doing over here, he says they're tashmishin, that people, they actually also make it as a house. And therefore, Rava's modeh, that we're not going to prohibit somebody to come and live into a house unless behemet, the hezek is already there. Meaning, if it's just going to be that there's nothing to do with living, and I want to put a tree, I want to put a pit, I want to put whatever it is that I want to put, right? So in such a case, right there, no, I'm not obligated to do anything. He says, why? Because you have to distance yourself. However, though, if it's going to be that you're living there, then I'm not going to stop you because it's your house. So you're going to live there. And by the way, you're also going to use it as a bakery or as a whatever it is. I'm not going to tell you no. You could do it. You have to distance yourself. Yeah, but there's no damage around. There's nothing here. So as long as there's nothing here, you could do it as close as you want. There's no problem. Okay, Dekanami Diktani, right? The Tani Allah, you could also deduce it from the fact that it's written, because there we said there was a Braita. The Braita says Mefurash, and if you had the Refet Bakar before the Otzar, and you had the barn before the storage place was there, Bichlal, he's allowed to. You're allowed to continue using it as a Refet Bakar, as a barn. There's no problem. Okay? Fine. Next, another question. Tashima. Now, this is going to be a Mishnah for much later on also. Kavav Mudalev. Lo yita adam ilan samuk lasadeh. You're not allowed to plant a tree close to a field, unless you're going to distance 4 amot. The Tani Alam, we said, Arba amot shamru, when we said 4 amot, it's only b'yad kedei avodat kerem, is in order that you should be able to work with the kerem, with the plowing and everything of the vineyard. He says, Tama mishum kedei, it's only because of avodat kerem. But if there's no avodat kerem, samich, you could bring it right beside the wall. Now why? Like right beside the property line. But why? The afagav the ika shorashim. The kamaski, here you have the shorashim, which are damaging. One more time, a tree has roots, and the roots of the tree, they damage. So therefore, if right now I don't have a vineyard, and you're telling me that I could go right up to the property line and how do you call this, and plant my tree, why? That's what the Gemara is asking.
Cows, plow to turn around.
So that here it's saying, but that's only if there's a vineyard there. If there's no vineyard there, and you don't have anything on the other side on your property line. Remember, in the olden days, it was not like nowadays that every single person has a fence. Even nowadays, there's very few places that you still have, right? In New York, I heard, or certain places that they share a backyard. Sharing a backyard, a kavanah is that, yeah, there's a fence maybe around the public property, meaning not letting the public come inside. But once you're inside, you share a fence with your neighbor, meaning that it's all one, right? There's no separation, right? Inside there. There does exist even until today, certain things. But in the olden days, that's the way it was always like that. So imagine right now, I'm going to come and I want to put a tree. So I'm not going to put a tree smack in the middle of my field. I want to use my field. So what I do, I go all the way towards the border where we have the line. And that's where I'm going to make the tree. So says the Gemara, or there's a Mishnah later on, right? If I've got the kerem, the vineyard on the other side, I have to distance myself 4 amot, so that way the plow could come and go around and do all the plowing and everything. But if there's no kerem, there's no vineyard, I could do it right up to the property line, but why? That's the question. I should distance myself. Answers the Gemara. There's a pasek. Yeah, the pasek is there's a rock, there's stones. So therefore, since there's stones right by the property line, it's making a sek and it's stopping that the roots are going to be able to go on the other side. Okay? And this you could also actually deduce it from the fact that it says if there's going to be a wall, so therefore obviously each one could go close to the wall, right, without any problems, because you have this mechitza which is actually stopping, right, which is actually stopping. Okay? Now he says, one second. He says, so, let's see the seifa. The seifa says, when does your roots go into your friend's property? You're allowed to cut, right, until 3 tfachim depth. So it doesn't stop your plow. If you're talking about right now that there's a stone, my Bava Batra, how are the roots in your property? Meaning this, I come and I start digging. And when I start digging, I get within 3 tvachim, I get the roots of the tree. I'm allowed to cut them. Why am I allowed to cut them? Because basically when I come and I go over with my plow, I don't need my plow to start getting stuck or start breaking because of your roots. So therefore, but that's not my problem. It's in my property. So therefore, I'm allowed until 3 tvachim. If it's more than 3 tvachim, the plow doesn't need it. So then I'm not allowed to. But until 3 tvachim, I'm allowed to actually come in to take out. So the question is, if you just said in Ukimta that our Mishnah is talking about that there's a stone, so if the stone is making a pasek, an interruption, so how is it getting through them? That doesn't make sense. So answers the Gemara, Haki Kamar, this is what we need to say. The love tzuma, if there's no stone and the shorashim were coming out, then you could go until 3 tfachim in order that it doesn't stop the maharisha. Ashema. So it says now over here like this. You have to distance a tree from the pit 25 amot. So he says, Ta'amadi kabor. It's only because there's a bor. Halek kabor. But if you don't have a pit, samich, you could. So answers the Gemara, no. Hilek kabor nami lo samich. Even if there's no pit, you're not allowed to bring it close. So Kamash Malan comes to teach you. That it goes 25 amot, meaning that you could have a tree that will go 25 amot, right? And then it will come, right? And it will damage, right? There was actually an incredible palm tree in Gibraltar, I remember in the Bet Knesset, that basically the roots were found, I don't remember, like, we're talking about like the far, because it's not, here it's going 25 amot, right?
It's like 60 feet, 60, 70 feet.
Well, every amma is half a meter. So 25 amot is 12.5 meters. That's a lot.
In my tree that we good and deep, and then long ways to the house.
Yeah. Oh, no, you have it here. He says
it was about 3-4 days after the tree took it up, the roots died, and it stinks in the house like if it was a dead animal.
Oh wow. Okay. So he says, Yehachi, if so, let's see the Seifa. The Seifa says, Vimilan kadam, whatever the tree came before the pit. So he says, Videlo samich. Now, if you're going to tell me, then you don't have to cut it down. Now he says, Videlo samich. If you're going to tell me now, right, that you did not come and bring it close, what's the case? So it says, like Papa says, Belokeach. We're talking about that you purchased it. Hachanami, so to here, you purchased it. Which means that we're talking about that a person came and he planted a tree in his field where it's not going to cause any damage. And then afterwards, you came and you bought that part of the field. And now you want to come and you want to put a board there. So in such a case, right, that's why he's not obligated to cut it down. Because since basically when he planted the tree, meaning all the surrounding area was his, so therefore he doesn't have to now cut down the tree now that he sells you a portion of that field. Okay? Fine. Next, Tashema, another question on Rava. Marchikim et mishra. You have to distance a mishra. Mishra is the water that you soak the linen in it. Minayerek from different vegetables. With the kashirim and salim and karti, the leeks from the onions. With the chardam and devorim, and mustard from the bees. Right? Tama, the reason why is the yerek, because there's yerek. Halek yerek. But if there's no yerek, right? So then samich, you're allowed to. So he comes and he says, right? He says, no. Kileka yerek nami samich, even if there's no yerek, you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to bring it closer. Each one is bad, meaning the mishra, krishim, chardal, all these things are bad for the yerek, betzalim, and dvarim. So if you want to know what's bad for the bumblebees, give them mustard, right? Meaning that's what the concept is. Yihachi, if so, ema seifa. Let's see the seifa. It says Rabbi Yosef matir berchardal. Rabbi Yosef permits the mustard. Because he could tell him, until you're going to tell me that you have to distance the mustard from my bees. I'm going to tell you, you distance your bees from my mustard, right? They're coming, they're eating the flowers of my mustards, right? My mustard plant. The idelo samich. Now Yudchetam bet 18b. The idelo samich. Now if you're going to tell me that if it's not going to be close by, what's the case then? How could you tell me now that it's a sur to come and bring them close? How did they become close? Rav Papa says the same answer that we mentioned before. But look, you bought it. Meaning, when you came and you did whatever you did, everything was your property. Meaning the surrounding area was your property. So there was no problem. All of a sudden I come and I say, you know what? I'm going to sell you a portion of my property. So when I sold it to you, and now you want to come and you want to put your, whatever it's the mustard seeds or whatever, all these things, now it's within my vicinity. But since I did it beheter, you cannot come and tell me that I have to get rid of it. I could continue having it there. There's no problem. So says the Gemara, if it's that you purchased it, my tamad Rabbanan, what's the reasoning of Rabbanan? Right? And furthermore, my tamad Rabbi Yossi, what's the reasoning of Yossi that even Misha v'yar kanami, it should be also like that also by Misha and Yerek. Why did Rabbi Yossi only make a differentiation in mustard seeds and to do with the mustard and not to do with the flax or the vegetables? So Amar Ravina says, Kasavli Rabbanan, the rabbis hold, ala mazik larchik et atzmo. The mazik, you have to distance yourself. Meaning, if you're the damager, it's incumbent upon you to move away your damaging, whatever it is, damaging items, damaging articles. Okay? Ela raibad miklal, that Rabbi Yosef Savar. So it's mashma. 1 second. If you just told me that the rabbis hold ala mazik larchik et atzmo, that it's incumbent upon the mazik to come and distance himself, so it's mashma. The Rabbi Yosef holds opposite. That the damagee has to come and distance himself. So ala nizak. So then if it's like that, so therefore 1 second. So then even mishan yerek then. So even vegetables and even the flax should be also the same halacha. Why did you only make a differentiation between the mustard? Say on everything then. So answers the Gemara. Ela leolam Rabbi Yosef nami ala mazik. When it's really behemet, he holds it's al mazik. Right? That means he holds like the rabbi. The hachi kama lehu Rabbi Yosef, and that's what Rabbi Yosef tells Rabbanan. Teinach misha v'yarka tehani maskihani v'hani lo maskihani. He says 1 second. By the flax and all these things, there's only one damager, and there's one damagee. So for you're damaging, but you're not getting damaged. He says, but the chardal and the vurim, they damage each other. Meaning, just like the mustard is damaging the honey, meaning the bumblebees are damaging the mustard seeds. So for each one, they damage each other. So you cannot compare the case of the flax and the vegetables, because there it's only one-way street. It's not a two-way street, right? Meaning, by the case of the mustard seeds and the honey and the bumblebees, they both damage each other. So there, Rabbi Yosef comes and he says, listen, if they both damage each other, I could tell you, why do I have to distance? You're also a mazik. You're both mazikim.
What do we do with that?
So 1 second. So that's why Rabbi Yosef says, it's not coming out. You don't have to distance yourself. Why? Because until you come and you tell me get rid of my mustard seeds, I'm going to tell you get rid of your bees.
What are they going to do? How are they going to solve the conflict?
1 second. So therefore, I could just keep it, right? But in every other case, Rabbi Yosef admits to Rabbanan that it's the damager that has to come and has to distance himself. The Rabbanan, according to the rabbis, he says, what is the pshat then? According to the rabbis, the bumblebees, right? They do not come and damage the chardal. Why? Because if it's going to be to do with the gar'in, which is the seeds, lo mashkachale, they can't find it. Because basically, since it's hidden within, right, doctor, you're going to a sheath, right? Just like the sheath of a sword. Yeah. So meaning that since it's hidden, the bumblebees cannot find them, therefore they can't damage the seed. The ibe tarpa. Now, if you're going to tell me it's the leaves on the flowers, hadar pare, they grow back and they grow. So therefore, because of that, according to Shtat Rabbanan, even though you're right, the bumblebees damage the mustard, but it grows again. And since it grows again, we're talking about the leaves and the seeds they can't find. So therefore, that's why the rabbis say they don't damage each other. Meaning, it's true, it's a damage, but it grows back. So therefore, it's not considered a damage. So therefore, that's why we go back. That again, it's only on the mazik, and it's not on. It's only one way. Okay. The Sava Rabbi Yosef shel mazik. Now, one second. You just told me that according to Rabbi Yosef, he agrees to the rabbis that it's ala mazik lachikat small. Is that what he really holds? But now we learned in the Mishnah. This is on Kafei Amud Bet. Rabbi Yosef omer av bisha bor kodem la'ilan. Even though the boar came before the tree, yeah, even though the boar came before the tree, lo yakotz, you're not going to cut it down. Because each one is doing plowing and planting and doing things within itself, which means that it comes out from here, right? It comes out from here that according to Shitat Rabbi Yosef, right? He says ala nazik, ala nizak le'archiket atzmo. It's only the nizak, not the mazik. Why? Because here he's saying each one is digging within himself, and therefore, if you don't want to get damaged, you distance yourself. I'm doing with it whatever I want with my own property. You could do whatever you want. So says the Gemara, you're right. Ela le'olam Rabbi Yosef. So right, so really, be'emet, it's like what we said at the Havamim. Really, be'emet, Rabbi Yosef says that it's on the damagee to distance himself from getting damaged. But he's saying according to their shita. Meaning he's saying, according to your shita, ledidi, according to me, ala nizak larchiket atzmo, the nizak should distance himself, and even when we're talking about mishavi yerek, lo ba'erichuki, you don't have to distance yourself. Ela ledidchu, but according to you, tamritu that you guys said, right, that ala mazik, teinach mishaviyarka. I understand mishaviyarka, tehanimaskiani, because these ones damage the other ones. It's a one-way street. These ones are the damagers, so therefore you have to distance them. But the other ones are not damaging them back. But chardal udvonim tarvayu mazkeadadi. But the chardal udvonim, each one damage each other. And the Rabbanan hold the vonim right lechardal umaskele that they don't come and they don't damage. Why? If it's the seed, right? Lo mashkachale, they cannot find it. And if it's going to be the leaves, hadar pare, it's going to come and it's going to grow again.